All right, let's talk about meme tokens. What if I told you that for one of the most explosive corners of crypto, the tech, well, it doesn't really matter at all. We're about to dive into a world that isn't driven by code, but by pure raw human psychology. And getting a handle on that psychology, that's everything, whether you think they're the future or just a fad.
So in this explainer, we're going to cut right through all that noise. Forget just looking at the hype. We're going to break down the actual mechanics, the psychology that pro traders use to navigate this complete madness. Ready? Let's get into it.
You know how it is right now. The whole conversation is just completely split. On one side, you've got people screaming they're just worthless lottery tickets. On the other, you've got people convinced they found the next 100x gem. But what if? What if both sides are kind of missing the point? Because the reality, as you're about to see, is way more interesting than that.
Okay, to really wrap your head around this, you have to make a pretty big mental shift. Like you've got to stop thinking about meme tokens the way you think about, well, basically any other asset. We are leaving the world of value investing behind. We're stepping into something else entirely, what's best described as a psychology market.
And here it is. This is it. If you only take one thing away from this, make it this. Meme tokens are psychology markets, not value markets. They run on pure human emotion. They're fueled by attention, not tech, not fundamentals. Once you truly get that, honestly, everything else about this crazy space just clicks into place.
So if it's not good tech, then what actually moves the price? Well, it's this stuff. It's the raw energy of a community. It's a story catching fire on social media. It's the big players, the whales, making moves. And yeah, sometimes even creating the hype themselves. It all comes down to human behavior.
Look, the easiest way to think about it is like this. Attention equals fuel. Simple. For a meme token to go anywhere, it needs attention, just like a rocket needs fuel to launch. The more eyes on it, the more fuel you've got in the tank. And that completely changes the game. You stop asking, is this a good project? And you start asking a much smarter question. Is the attention on this going up or is it going down?
Now, I know this all probably seems like pure chaos, right? Just random pumps and dumps. But it's not totally random. Believe it or not, these psychology-fueled markets, they often follow a surprisingly predictable pattern. Let's break down this 5-phase life cycle that almost every meme token goes through.
Okay, so it all kicks off with phase 1, silent accumulation. This is when the insiders, the really savvy traders, are buying up quietly before anyone else is even looking. Then, boom, phase 2, the social explosion. You start seeing it pop up on Twitter, in Telegram groups. The hype machine starts revving its engines. That builds and builds into phase 3, mania. Absolute FOMO. Everyone and their dog is talking about it. And that feeling, that urge to buy, is just overwhelming. But, and this is so important, this is when the smart money starts, phase 4, distribution. They're selling their bags to all the new people rushing in. And that, almost every single time, leads to phase 5, the collapse or the fade, as attention dies down and moves on to the next big thing.
So let's just be crystal clear about what this life cycle means for your wallet. The vast majority of the money, it's made by the people who get in during that quiet phase or super early in the social explosion. And where do the vast majority of losses happen? You guessed it, right at the peak of the mania when buying feels like the safest, most obvious thing in the world to do.
Okay, so that's the theory, that's the life cycle, but how do you actually use this information? Let's put together a smart playbook for trying to navigate these markets. And notice I said navigate, not predict. It's all about playing the probabilities.
So the first big question, the one everyone wants to know is, when is a good time to even think about getting in? How can you spot one of these things early? What are the signals that our fuel, attention, is starting to fill up the tank?
Well, you're on the lookout for a few key clues. First, a sudden jump in trading volume after it's been dead quiet for a while. You start to see the online community buzzing, right? The chatter increases. The price finally breaks out of that sideways rut, what traders call consolidation. And the big one? The story, the narrative is spreading, but it's not everywhere yet. Your uncle hasn't called you to ask if you should buy it. Those are the signs that phase 2 might just be starting.
But just as important, maybe even more important, is knowing when it's already too late. When has that ship sailed? What are the big flashing warning signs telling you that you're about to become what traders call exit liquidity? And let's be real, that's just a fancy term for being the person who buys at the very top, so the early guys can cash out.
Okay, here are the red flags to watch for. You're seeing screenshots of insane profits all over social media. The chart looks like a straight vertical line.
The token has already done, a 5x, a 10x. But the biggest one, it's how you feel. If you feel this intense, emotional, gut-wrenching urgency to buy right now, just remember this, that powerful emotion is almost always a signal that you are very, very late to the party.
All right, now for the hardest part. Seriously, this is where most people get wrecked. How do you know when to get out? It's so easy to get greedy, to just hold on for one more pump. But here's the thing, meme tokens don't just gently roll over at the top. They reverse, and they tend to do it violently. So what are the warning signs that the top is near?
You gotta keep your eyes peeled for these things. The price starts swinging like crazy. Huge moves up and down. You see these big candles on the chart with long, spiky wicks, which shows that buyers are trying to push the price up but are getting smacked down. You see what's called volume exhaustion. Tons and tons of trading, but the price just isn't making new highs anymore. And then, the final nail in the coffin. Narrative saturation. When it feels like literally everyone is talking about it, yeah, the party's probably over. Okay. Let's wrap this up by talking about the most important thing, survival. Because let's be honest, this is not a market for the faint of heart. It takes a very specific kind of discipline to even navigate this level of volatility without just getting completely wiped out.
Here's the harsh truth. It's something you just have to accept if you're going to play in this space. The vast majority of these tokens, they eventually go to, or pretty darn close to, zero. And it's not always because they're a scam. It's simpler than that. Attention is a finite resource. It always moves on to the next shiny object. You have to remember, you are trading momentum, you are not investing in something permanent.
And you have to understand, these markets are like they were perfectly engineered in a lab to trigger our worst psychological impulses. The crazy potential for fast gains, that feels pure greed. Watching a chart go vertical without you on it, that triggers crippling FOMO. The insane volatility tests your patience. And then if you get one lucky win, that can create dangerous overconfidence. It is, without a doubt, emotional warfare.
So what's the antidote to all that? It's forcing yourself to adopt a professional's mindset. Your job isn't to fall in love with a cute dog meme or marry a narrative. Your job is, first and foremost, to manage your risk. It's to ride the wave of momentum while it's there, to respect that every cycle will eventually end. And the hardest one of all, to detach emotionally from the outcome.
And that really brings us to the ultimate takeaway here. In this high-stakes game of meme tokens, all of it, the charts, the hype, the noise on social media, it's all just a distraction. The real battle you're fighting isn't against the market. It's inside your own head. It's against that primal gut impulse to chase a big green candle right into a trap. If you can win that internal battle, you are already way ahead of the game.